Hi there, everyone. It's James Clegg here from Raise the Bar, one of the development consultants. Thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you with us. If you've not worked with us before, then welcome. Or if you're a regular, then welcome back. It's great to have you with us. Today we've got about half an hour to go through some stuff around building awesome teams. We've got about half an hour with some slides, and then we've got about 15 minutes Q&A as we go through. Just let you know on the Q&A front, if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you should have a blue Q&A icon. So please send me your questions through, and I'll pick some questions out when we get to about 15 minutes from the end. So keep your questions coming. Just to let you know a little bit about Raise the Bar, so for those who haven't worked with us before, just let you know that we're one of the UK's leading learning and development companies. We draw on first-hand experience with world-class results to help individuals, teams and organisations develop their competitive edge, build motivation and engagement. We're also proud to be one of the UK's most recognised speaker bureaus. So we work with over 350 high-profile subject matter experts from around the world of business, academia, entertainment and sport. And these experts really help shape our thinking and our expertise in our key areas of focus. We provide more than just a series of workshops. We work in partnership with you to develop tools, techniques and strategies to ensure there's lasting business impact after we've gone. And our track record of performance improvements demonstrates the power of our collaborative approach. So I hope we get the opportunity to work with you real soon. But for now, let's have a look at some awesome teams. So where are we going to go this next half an hour? Well, first we're going to have a look at what an awesome team actually is. It's quite a bold statement, isn't it, really? An awesome team. What might that look like? What might it feel like working in an awesome team? And how do you know you've got one? Then we're going to look at some of the golden rules for creating awesome. How do we create this thing we call awesome? There's some top tips for us there. And then, how do we get a fast start to 2016? Because, do you know, I've found over the years that before you know it, you're into February and then March, you know, quarter one's already gone, and then you're playing catch up for the rest of the year. You've got 9 months to catch up. So let's avoid that. So we've got some top tips on how we can hit the ground running. So as soon as we get back into the building, January the 4th, probably for many of us, we can hit the ground running and really crack on and make sure that the first days and weeks of January really launches in to a really successful year and hopefully the best year ever. And finally, how do we keep the awesomeness alive throughout the year? One thing's for sure, it's not by sheer chance. So we'll think about ditching the strategy of hope and creating a team build strategies. How do we develop the team throughout the year? How do we invest and keep the team fit for purpose and highly engaged and motivated throughout the year? So first of all, what is this thing we call awesome? Well, you probably know when you've worked on an awesome team. You probably know what it feels like. I guess I've been lucky. I've worked in amazing teams, awesome teams, and I've been lucky to be part of them and perhaps lead those teams as well. So what I've done is I've thought about all the aspects that I feel makes awesome within a team environment. And these are some of the top things you can see on the screen here. The first one is about having a unified commitment to team success. So what I mean by this is people really think about the team. So it's not just a group of individuals working together and achieving together. It's about having that real, genuine commitment. So people see that team, talk about being in that team, and have a sense of pride and commitment about being in that team. And people will talk about, I'm a member of that team, and they use that word with pride and passion in the organisation. I also think an aspect of an awesome team is their ability to be collaborative. Okay, so that doesn't mean just working with each other within the team, so cross-functional, but it's also about how do they interact with different teams within the organisation, and how do they interact with teams outside the organisation. So I always think it's a really good sign of an awesome team if you've got a spirit or a climate of high collaboration where people are working together, sharing ideas, sharing best practice and looking for win-win outcomes. Another aspect of an awesome team, as far as I'm concerned, is about having high standards of excellence all the time. And this is where people really, really set the standards themselves. The leader's job should be fairly easy in terms of setting the bar here, raising the bar, because the people in the team themselves actually want to create the highest standard of excellence. And what you see is lots of passion and energy about really achieving the best that they can achieve, and then pushing the boundaries that little bit further. Yeah, let's not just be great, let's be more than great, let's be awesome. So this is an awesome team, have high standards of excellence, and they're all completely committed to it. We talk about team goals. So team goals are clearly understood by all. And yes, I suppose you probably expect anybody who's talking about teams to say that. It's fairly standard. But what's the difference between a standard team and a standard goal and awesome goals and awesome teams? Well, for me, what I would say is that goals need to be obviously stretching, and they need to be smart, specific, and all that great stuff. But they also need to have an element of inspiration about them. They need to be slightly aspirational. They need to give people in the team and the team a real stretch, something that really is going to push them, really going to motivate them, energize them, engage them throughout the whole year. And it's also about having that shared goal as well. So whilst individuals will have goals within the team and they can all see where that fits together, it's really important about having overall team goals so the team will succeed or fail together and create and generate that collective responsibility. Another dimension of awesome teams for me would be about creativity and innovation. Now, people will talk a lot about creativity and innovation, and many teams I work with have claimed to be high on creativity and innovation, and some indeed were, but some less so. So this is really about how do you create an environment where people can try things for the first time. People can try things out. People can innovate and look for new ways of doing it without the risk of any comeback. So if somebody does make a mistake, then there has to be an environment where mistakes are just part of the learning. Some of the best learning I've ever had throughout my career have been when I've got things wrong. So creating that creativity and innovative approach throughout the team means that you can create new ideas, look at different ways of doing things, get to market quicker, be more agile, think of a new solution that your competitors haven't got. So creativity and innovation, lots and lots of this in an awesome team. And my favorite bullet point on this list here has to be this very next one. And for me, this absolutely defines an awesome team. And this is where people ask for forgiveness, not permission. Very often, I will work with organizations and teams where there's almost like this permission-seeking role from the individuals in the team, looking to the leader and manager of that team for permission to be able to do things. Well, okay, I mean, I understand why that may be the case, but that for me doesn't make awesome. What makes awesome is when individuals seize the opportunity and deal with something. They deal with it straight away, it's easier to ask for permission and better to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Rather than sitting around waiting for something to happen, just being proactive, just getting on and doing something. If it goes wrong, as long as there's an environment which has been set by the leader, which is non-judgmental and non-blame culture, then why not give it a go? Okay, so ask for forgiveness, not for permission. If people are asking you for permission constantly, you might want to think about what you need to do as a leader to get them to ask for forgiveness rather than permission to get a truly awesome team. Another aspect of an awesome team for me is also around diversity. So I certainly come from a place where diversity is everything. A team with no diversity for me isn't really a team. In fact, I remember some advice that somebody gave me very early on in my career, and he said, James, if you ever have two people in your team who are exactly the same, you need to get rid of one of them. And it was absolutely right. So diversity is truly valued, and what I mean by this is truly understanding individuals' preferences, styles, approaches. Yes, there are lots of models out there. So Belbin, for example, will talk about the different team roles. There are lots of psychometric type of tools and profiles out there, things like the OPQ or Myers-Briggs. So really having a diverse set of skills, beliefs, personalities, and abilities in the team really does help us create that awesomeness. Also, awesomeness is about trust. Okay, so where each team member really trusts the judgments of others, even when somebody may well think that that individual is perhaps making the wrong decision or a decision which they personally wouldn't have taken. It's still about trust. So where team members support each other, regardless, almost regardless of the decision that they're making and their judgment. So when it differs from their own, that's absolutely fine. When you work in a diverse team, as we previously mentioned, and a diverse, awesome team, trust is there, and people believe each other and trust each other to do the right thing. And finally, you know, it actually feels awesome. You just kind of know when you're working in an awesome team. And you kind of get that feeling. You can't wait to get into work. It's just a joy being there. The days fly by, and it's fun to be part of. Yeah, fun's really important. And you know what? More than anything, people are queuing at the door to get into the team. Everybody wants to be part of that team. Okay, so once it feels awesome and other people want to be a part of it, you're probably there. You're probably well along the way to creating awesome. So this all sounds fantastic. Wouldn't it be great if we could all have awesome teams? If all these things on this slide here were there for every team out there in every organisation in the country? Well, I have to say, I have worked with a lot of awesome teams, and there are many teams out there that do this thing called awesome. So here are some golden rules. Number one for me would be finding the right people. And what I don't mean here is just looking at the right skill set. What I mean is finding the right people who will fit in with the organisation, with that team, with the culture of the team and the organisation, with the work ethic, with the levels of passion, with the levels of engagement and inspiration. Will they bring something different to the team in terms of approach, belief and mindset that we don't already have? So very often what we do is we recruit the right skills rather than necessarily recruit the right people. And then what we also need to do, of course, is play them to their strengths. So I know it's a bit of a cliche, so forgive me, but to use a football analogy, we would never put a goalkeeper playing as a striker or a striker playing in goal. So it's about playing people to their strengths, so finding the right people with the right mindsets, and let them do what they need to do. Let them find their role within the organisation and within the team, and let them add value. Once again, some advice I got very early on in my career from an inspirational manager I once worked with was James. He said, for every person you recruit, you get a free brain. And your job as a leader is to inspire them to use it. At the time, I thought it was rather odd advice, but over the years, I've kind of reflected on that. And yeah, it's really good advice. I think it's guided me for the last number of years as that. So for every person I recruit, I get a free brain. What I have to do is make sure that they can use that brain, that they can use their emotional commitment and engagement and skills and personality and everything that individual brings. The second thing we need to do is to create an inspirational and clear vision of what success looks like. Now, yeah, okay, every organisation, every team out there will have a vision, and that is for sure. Whether it's clear or not is perhaps another question. So the work that I do with awesome teams, that's one of the key things that I find is that every single person is really clear of what that organisation and that team is about. So not just the aspirational and inspirational vision of what the future looks like, but also some stuff around how that feels as well. So looking into the future, what will it feel like when we get there? Yeah, so could they create not just clarity over the vision, but also some emotional connection and some engagement with that vision. So an inspirational and clear vision that everybody understands what it is and how it will feel like when they get there. The third dimension for creating awesome for me would be about setting the bar high and create a culture where success is inevitable. So what I mean by that is creating a high performance culture. Very often organizations will perhaps wish to create a high performance culture. However, there are the number of low performers in an organization or a team sometimes lower that bar down. So what I mean here is about creating consistently high standards. And like I said on the previous slide, one of the dimensions of awesome, one you know you've got awesome, is that the team themselves set that bar for themselves. They know what high is, and they expect to deliver high standards. And they also make sure that people do. So performance management, if you wish, is dealt with by the team themselves. They expect high quality, and they deliver high quality, and they need that from other people. Creating a culture where success is inevitable is perhaps one of those phrases that's quite easy to say and more difficult to do. So just to unpick that a little bit, what I mean by that is, how do you as a leader or a manager of that particular team create an environment where success is inevitable, where people know what's expected of them, where people get rewarded and recognized for doing a great job? So when was the last time that you thanked everybody in your team for doing a great job? Maybe it was recently, maybe it was this morning, or maybe it was some time ago. But have a think about that. When did you last reinforce a success, high performance culture within your team? The fourth one for me would be around manage less and lead more. I absolutely believe that this is one of the main things that we need to do out there in the world at the moment. Less management, more leadership. Okay, I generally find that people who are part of an awesome team don't necessarily need management. They don't need that transactional day-to-day management that you would typically get with a management approach. What they do need and what they thrive on is a leadership approach. So the role of the leader for me in an awesome team is about making sure we recruit the right people in and play them to the strengths, making sure people have clarity over and connection with an inspirational vision, making sure that there's a high performance culture where success is inevitable. It's about rewarding people, recognizing a job well done. It's about providing that motivation and engagement and reward. Yeah, driving the team forward through to success. So manage less and lead more. It's also about focusing on the how as well as the what. So once again, very often for me, what differentiates good teams from awesome teams is the fact that we do look at the how. So how do we actually achieve something? Not just what we do in terms of KPIs and results and measures, but how are we going to work together? So how are we going to interact? So some of the best teams I've worked with do just that. They regularly think about and write down and work out, how are we going to work together? How are we going to communicate with each other? What are the ground rules, I suppose, for the want of a better phrase? How are we going to work together? How are we going to connect? What's it all about working in this team? So it's almost like the team mantra. And it's incredible the difference that has on how people then go forward and interact as a team. And the final tip for creating awesome would be to go back to the workplace right now, well, in about another 20 minutes, hopefully, not right now, another 20 minutes, and catch people out doing things right. I'm constantly surprised at how many managers out there, through my experience, look for things going wrong. Look for an opportunity to give somebody some feedback, but perhaps feedback which is about how they can do something differently. I urge you to go and find this afternoon people doing things right. Catch people out doing things right. It might sound a little bit strange, but trust me, it really does work, because it really changes your mindset. It changes your leadership mindset. Looking for the good and replicate the good. What it will also do is change the mindset of the people in your team too. They'll be looking for reasons to do things right rather than reasons to do things wrong. They'll be looking at other people in the team getting rewarded for doing the good things and the good behaviors. So not just the what's, but the how's. So catch people out doing things right. So they would be the top 6 dimensions for creating awesome teams. So find the right people, not just the right skills. Create an inspirational and clear vision of what success looks like and get that emotional attachment with it. Set the bar high and make sure it stays high, and create that culture where success is inevitable. Manage less and lead more, and focus on the how as well as the what, and let the team explore what how actually means. Let them create the how. And finally, go catch people out doing things right. So, how to get a fast start to 2016? I'm sure you, like me, have often wondered, Where on earth did January and February go? It can't possibly be March already. What happened? So here are some top tips on how you can make 2016 the best year ever by really getting out of the blocks nice and quickly. So my top tip number one would be what's making the boat go faster. I'm sure many of you have heard that phrase before and know where it comes from. But for those who don't, it relates to the Olympic GB rowing team, who had a mantra of asking that question when they were going to do any single activity. The question was, does this make the boat go faster? If it did make the boat go faster, then they would do it. If it didn't make the boat go faster, then they wouldn't do it. I guarantee you will be absolutely amazed when you go back to work this afternoon and start looking at this. Okay, look at all the things the team does. Look at all the KPIs, look at all the activity, look at all the meetings, look at all the communication that you've got, look at the process and the structures. Okay, which of those activities really are making the boat go faster? Yeah? Which of those activities are making your team and your organization successful? Which of those activities are really making a better customer experience? Yeah, so what's making the boat go faster? So review that now. Do it before Christmas. Think now, what's making the boat go faster? And then in January, do just that and that only. Only do the things that make the boat go faster and lose the things that have evolved over time that just somehow happen to be part of what we do, but nobody really knows why we do it. My second tip here would be a year is such a long time. Now, we get 12 months. We get 12 months to complete a set of tasks. Now, for many, the initial psyche there would be, oh, well, 12 months is ages away. We've got loads of time on this. Okay. What that often means is that it could well be March or April before some people in the team have even got their heads around the fact that 3 months have already gone. Okay. So breaking the year down into much smaller pieces is a really good technique, and I mean much smaller even than quarters. So, for example, what I do when I manage teams, I set a weekly target for January. So I break January down into individual weeks, because what that does is really focus minds, get them back into the seat, focus very quickly that actually January is a key month. Let's get success in January and February. Now let's break those down into small chunks, into weeks or fortnights, so we can really get some energy and focus nice and quickly. Which links nicely into number 3, which is about get your eyes quickly back on the prize. Very often, once again, it could well be January, sort of late January, early Feb, maybe even later, before people really settle back into it. You know, and I'm really not being bar humbug, I promise, but how often do individuals come back to the workplace and the first couple of weeks are still either talking about Christmas and the New Year, or thinking about Christmas and the New Year, or actually that they've just not got connected again? They're still back still back by the Christmas tree, eating mince pies and watching films on telly. So how can we get people's eyes quickly back on the prize? Okay. The fourth one is around team agility. So what I mean by this is we need to make sure that our team can respond quickly to certain situations. Very often what happens over the year is that things develop and grow and things get added to the team, and process often slows the team down. So this is a great time of year right now, just before Christmas, to think about what's getting in the way of the team being agile, what's getting in the way of the team really being quick, what's getting in the way of innovation and creativity. Yeah, what's stopping people doing that? So it's a good time to have a little bit of a spring clean, really, a pre-Christmas spring clean, and think about what's slowing the team down. How can we speed that up? How many meetings are happening that really shouldn't really be happening? How many meetings are adding value? Yeah, how many processes really need to be a little bit leaner? Once again, I think you'd be really surprised at what you find when you go and have a look at that, because things just evolve. And this is a great time to pull that back and strip it all back to what the team's actually about. Get it nice and agile, nice and quick and lean for January, the minute we get back into the office. My fifth tip would be about getting some quick runs on the board. So this links back to number 2 here, really, which is also about getting people focused very, very quickly. And I mean literally day one back into the office. Okay, so as soon as we get back into the office, get back into the organization, let's start getting some quick runs on the board. And I mean literally week 1, week 2, week 3, what have we achieved? Let's get some quick runs on the board. Let's have some metrics, let them be very clear and visible, and reward and recognize people for doing that. So once again, getting that energy and that focus very quickly before we slip into February and March and April. Yeah, get some quick runs on the board, get some successes, let everybody be clear about those successes, let everybody see those successes, and reward them for doing it. And finally, what I would call rhythm of engagement. What do I mean by this? Well, this is really about creating that energy from day one, the moment you get back in. Okay, I understand, you know, people have had maybe a week off, maybe even longer, and they come back and maybe feel a little bit tired, having spent time with the family, maybe doing some traveling, maybe eating too much, drinking too much, not doing the exercise that they normally do. And there is that kind of air of sluggishness around the first week in January. So my challenge to you as a leader is to really get that heartbeat pumping of the team, really get that rhythm of engagement nice and early. So get lots of activity, get people focused, get people moving around, get some really great engaging team meetings and team communications going out day one, week 1. Yeah, so get all your team together, set your stall out for the year, set your stall out for January. Let's make January, if we make January the best ever month we've ever had, there's a fair old chance that February will be the best February we've ever had, and 2016 will be the best year that we ever have. So rhythm of engagement, get people energized from day one, get people together, get people singing together on the same hymn sheet, get people focused from minute 1. So get that rhythm, get that beat going through the organization, and shake off those mince pies. So that's about half an hour. So it looks like I'm pretty much out of time now. But that does take us very quickly then just to my final slide. So I've maybe got 1 more minute. So it's about keeping the awesomeness alive. And one thing I would say is that awesomeness, even when you create it, doesn't necessarily stay there. So you have to keep going with this. You have to keep re-energizing the team. You have to keep investing in the team. So to keep the awesomeness alive in 2016 and beyond, it's about raising the bar. Keep raising that bar. Keep setting the performance high. Yeah, don't allow the weeks and months to go by and the standards to slowly drop down. So I'll keep a real focus on that bar nice and high, and keep notching it that 1 step higher and 1 step higher and 1 step higher. You'd be amazed when you work with great people and an awesome team what people can achieve, and by raising that bar the extra inch higher, you'd be amazed how many people can jump it. My second tip for keeping the awesomeness alive would be about asking more questions. I've been looking to work with many great managers and leaders over my career so far, and you know what? The best ones just ask really great questions. Why do we do such and such? How are you feeling about X, Y, and Z? What would you do in a certain situation? Tell me more about that aspect. Yeah, ask lots of great questions. My third tip would be to make heroes of people. And once again, this was some advice I got very early on in my career. Make heroes of people. When people do a good job, make sure we tell them, make sure we let them know. Okay, people like to be recognized, people like to be rewarded. So make heroes of people. Go and find and catch people out doing things right. Keep that energy and momentum going in a real positive way throughout the year. My fourth one would be about learning more about each other. So this is something that we do a lot with teams that Raise the Bar. So we work with teams to help them understand a different dimension of each other. So often we'll use something like Myers-Briggs or psychometrics, or we'll use Belbing, or a whole range of tools and techniques in order to help teams really understand more about each other. And my belief is absolutely that the more we know about each other, the better we can communicate, the more we can successfully work together, and the more we can achieve by knowing more about each other. And my final tip for keeping the awesomeness alive throughout 2016 would be to ditch the strategy of hope. Once again, teams don't just happen. Awesomeness doesn't just happen, and awesomeness can be lost if we don't continue to work with it. So rather than a strategy of hope and keeping our fingers crossed that it will stay good, How about developing a team build approach? So the very best teams that I work with do just that. They have a clear plan for 2016. They know exactly how they're going to work together. They plan in time to understand each other. They plan time away from work. They have away days. They have team development sessions. They learn more about each other. So have a think about what interventions and energizers you need to introduce with that team throughout the year to keep it regular, to keep the momentum fresh, to keep the energy going. So develop a team build approach and think about the whole year rather than just hoping that things will work out well in the end. And obviously we can help you with that. So if anybody wants some advice and tips on how to develop a team, then drop us a line at Raise the Bar. We'd love to help you with that one. So that does take me 31 minutes, so 1 minute over. That's not bad for me, actually. So I'm finally through to the questions. So I'm just going to flick through to the other screen. So bear with me a second, and I'll have a look at all the questions that we've got through. So thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it and got some ideas on creating an awesome team for 2016. Let's just have a look at some of the questions. Right, okay, wow, we've got lots of questions. Thank you. Some really great questions. So a few people already asking if we can have copies of the slides. Yes, absolutely. We'll sort that out for you. Not a problem. Thank you for the great tips. You're very welcome. Thank you, Jonathan. Can awesomeness be achieved straight away, or does it take time? What a great question, Lee. Thank you. Yeah. Well, do you know that I wish I could say awesomeness could be achieved straight away. But sadly, it doesn't. It does take time. It's about building a team, and it's about getting to know the individuals. It's about investing time in them. So no, unfortunately, it doesn't. It doesn't happen overnight. It is something that we need to invest, but it's well worth it. So a great question here. How do you get teams to focus on themselves and not on things happening outside the team? Great question. Thank you for that. Yeah, really good question. Yeah, and do you know what? That's what I often find. When you're working with a team that is awesome, what they have are high levels of self-awareness. So they understand how they operate as individuals. They understand about the impact that they have. And their focus tends to be on getting themselves in the right place and getting the team in the right place. So one of the first things I talked about was people having pride in that team. They collaborate and work with other teams, but what they tend not to do is compare. They don't tend to compare and contrast and get involved in other teams' business unless it's in a collaborative way. So how do you get the teams to focus on themselves? I would suggest and I would recommend that you start doing maybe some team development work with them. So get them together and say, look, okay, so what is our team about? What do we do? And what would make our boat go faster? So I'll start asking some of those questions. Once again, if you want to contact us outside of this webinar, we can help you with some ideas on how you can do that. Quite a few people asking for copies of the slides and some great comments. Thank you very much for that. A question here about the role of the leader and how do you move away from a management approach to a leadership approach in order to create that awesomeness. So once again, a really great question. And you know what? Yeah, it does. It probably takes quite a bit of courage. It takes quite a bit of courage to move away from the traditional kind of management, being in control, trying to manage the process and trying to manage the team. What I would say is just have that little bit of courage. Take that chance. Step away from the team. Start thinking more of a leader than a manager. Give the team responsibility. And what I would suggest is start to let the team make decisions. Start to ask questions of the team. Yeah. Let them think about solutions to issues that we have. Yeah. Don't let the team be looking towards you to be the provider of the answers. So it's really about getting the team to take ownership. So taking a step back, taking your management hat off and starting to think as a leader. And leaders ask great questions and they enable people. So that's a great question there. Got a few more questions. Oh, that's the similar question there. The final question is around keeping the awesomeness alive, which is around team development. Would I recommend formal team development? Well, funny enough, yes, I would. Some people may think I may probably just say that automatically, but yeah, I would actually. There are lots of things that you can do as a leader, lots of activities that you can do to develop that team. But I do find that having an external person there to work with to give that an objective view and a different, a fresh approach often works really well. So certainly when I managed and led teams, I always worked with external partners who I knew were great at working with understanding teams and understanding the organisation and bringing a fresh perspective. So yeah, absolutely, I would very much recommend working with some external partners, some specialists in teams to bring a different dimension. Okay, well, it looks like that's all the questions. One more coming through now. Yeah, one more question. We've just got time for this one more. It's a great question from Alex. Thank you, Alex. And the question is, how do you make the transition to being a leader rather than a manager when you have to meet the managing requirements of a large organisation? Alex, it's a great question. A really great question, and it's about a balance. So I'm not suggesting that for one moment that management is bad and leadership is good. Far from it. We have to manage on a day-to-day basis, and that's part of what we do. It's really about striking that balance. So being aware that we need to spread ourselves across both leadership and management. Very often we can get caught up in the day-to-day management, and before we realise it, that the years flown by, that the year's gone, that the year's away. And what we haven't done is all the stuff that we really wanted to do at the start of the year, which is about leading the team, inspiring them, creating the vision, leading a successful team and a fun team to work with. So what I would say, my suggestion would be just to strike a balance and just to start somewhere. So I would, maybe just write 3 things that you're going to do in January. Commit to just 3 small things that you are going to do in January, which would be leadership rather than management. Okay, so don't lose the management, but start consciously developing your leadership capability. So I always believe in the power of 3. So commit to 3 small things that you're going to do in January that will develop your leadership capability, and the team will start to see a different aspect of you. So there you go. Hopefully that's been interesting. We've had a lot of viewers, so thank you for joining us. Finally, what I would like to say is hopefully we get to work with many of you next year. I'd love to meet you and do some work with you. I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and have an absolutely awesome 2016. Thank you very much.